Welcome back to Overdunk, everybody, your favorite competitive Pokemon UNITE podcast. My name is Zoinks, joined as always by Bridget, and we got a really fun episode for you today. But before we get to any of that, we do have a bit of housekeeping. That's not exactly the word, but either way, we got a few things to get out of the way first. First off, we just said it to anybody who was watching the pre-show, but if you're listening to this in future podcast land, all the episodes are up. So first off, so sorry for spamming your feed. If you were subscribed to us anywhere, I truly am, but Overdunk is finally caught up. So if you want to check out the episodes from the distant past, the YouTube channel or the Spotify or Apple podcast places are going to be the places where you can find it. But as for today's episode, we have a really fun one. We're going to be talking about the brand new patch that just hit Pokemon UNITE, the Unison Strike, the Union Strike. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we go through the entire patch and we label each Pokemon either a scab or an owl. Anyway,
There's something there.
We'll make more Union jokes later. It'll be great. But anyway, we got to talk all about the Unison Strike patch. We also have a brand new Pokemon coming to the game in literally just 2 days in Galarian Rapidash. A bit of a change to that as well. And final bit on the podcast, we're going to be talking about the brand new game mode that is launching in the Chinese version of the game right now. I believe in beta. I believe it's being labeled as in beta at the moment. Is an auto battler. Teamfight Tactics and Pokemon have finally had the crossover that I feel like everybody in the Pokemon sphere has been asking for quite some time. At least anybody who's played TFT even once has been wanting an auto battler in a Pokemon flavor. And we're getting it, or at least China is, and hopefully we are. So we'll talk about all those things, but before we even get to that, Bridget, let's just check in real quick. How have you been, my friend?
Pretty good. We just had a nice long weekend in the US with MLK Junior Day yesterday. So hopefully everyone had a good time.
Yeah.
Got an extra day off, hopefully. So it was nice.
Unfortunately, I did not have the extra day off, and I had worked it. It was like the coldest day of the year so far. That was actually today, but yesterday was bad too. But it's okay.
Great.
Yeah, it was less fun for me, but it's okay. We get to have a fun discussion on the podcast, and that makes it all better, I think. So it's okay. We bounce back. We certainly bounce back. All right, Bridget. Well, let's start talking about the podcast. Let's start talking about the patch. We're on the podcast. Let's start talking about the patch. We had the Unison Strike patch launch earlier last week, I believe, sometime after we recorded the podcast with Overlord, and we had a ton of changes. A ton. Maybe that's an overestimation. Some people say it's too little. Some people might say it's too much. But either way, we did have some changes that I do think are going to affect the landscape of UNITE a little bit. So maybe we just jump right into it, shall we?
We shall.
Let's do it. Okay, first and foremost, we have Goodra being changed quite a bit in this game. This is one of the Pokemon that I think has been on the top of my list to see some buffs for quite some time. Feels like one of the most lackluster defenders, and after playing quite a few games on this Pokemon since the buff, I actually think that opinion is starting to change. So, Goodra getting a lot of changes. Gooey, the passive that slows down enemy Pokemon whenever you hit or you have a chance to slow the enemy Pokemon with your boosted auto hit, is getting an increased intensity. You may remember this passive got buffed a little bit earlier, a few patches ago, in which it happened more frequently. Now the debuff is actually getting increased from 8% to 10%, so just a slight change. Muddy Water and Acid Spray both getting buffs, basically in the intensity of the debuff. Muddy Water making the damage reduction a bit stronger, Acid Spray with a bit longer of a throw, from 0.6 seconds to 1 second, almost fully doubling the amount of time that you're airborne when hit by that Acid Spray tackle. So quite a few changes, making Goodra a whole lot more annoying, something that maybe people didn't even want in the first place. So I'm a Goodra enjoyer. I will stop talking. Bridget, how are you feeling about all these Goodra buffs?
Definitely positive, like you were saying. Goodra was in dire need, watching I feel like almost every other defender be buffed or meta at some point. While Goodra, I feel like since kind of upon release, maybe Lutano was the only Goodra believer there for a hot second, and I felt like every time he picked it, it was like, no, Lutano, don't pick the Goodra. It's not working. So hopefully it does see a little more viability. I can't say I love going against a Goodra. He is very annoying to me, but probably one of the most deserving mons, for sure.
Okay. Well, we're talking Goodra competitive success, so I'm going to hold on to that one game at Worlds from, what team were they under at that moment? Baby Mazzo's team,
Uh,
whatever, the team from Brazil that was crushing it when Falb played Goodra to shut down the Zacian. I believed, and it beat out EU, okay? So I'm holding on to it. Talibobo defeated by Goodra. I'm holding on to it, so... that is our one era of competitive success, and I'll take it. Dextrodome in chat saying that they hate Goodra buffs because Goodra players have the worst macro. Yeah, I mean, at least they're playing tank, I guess, you know? But other than that, yeah, it can be tough. Goodra's got a decent early game, and it basically can 1v1 anything, but yeah, when you're asking for macro, you might be asking a bit too much. Let's get into the next big highlight of the patch. This will be Aegislash. Now, Aegislash gets the classic Pokemon Unite buff as of recently, which is just a whole ton of defense buffs, both to the physical defense and to the special defense. Solid changes overall. It really feels like oftentimes these changes include maybe a little bit heavier-handed changes to the late game, or vice versa, a little heavy-handed changes to the early game. This one is just kind of overall just a big old chunk of change, both to the early and late game of Aegislash, which is really, really cool, as well as Wide Guard getting a cooldown decrease from 9 seconds to 8 seconds, so Wide Guard remains the best move on Aegislash. And then the boosted auto attack from Aegislash while in sword form. So while you're in shield form with boosted auto, you heal yourself. While in sword form, you do percentage of maximum HP damage. Essentially, you become one of the best tank shredders to ever exist. And that has been increased from 7% of max HP to 8.5% max HP. Not a super relevant stat against squishier Pokemon like the attackers or things like that, but against defenders, or maybe even more pointedly objective Pokemon like Rayquaza or any of the Regis, that is a huge change. So Aegislash not really getting a change in how it's stylistically played or anything like that, but certainly just becoming better at its role as a great all-rounder tank buster. But yeah, that's going to lay in the groundwork. Bridget, what are your thoughts on this new look at Aegislash?
I do find it hilarious. They just act like Ironhead doesn't exist.
Yep,
Not worried about it. Why would we buff that one? I find that very funny. But I do also believe AG was pretty deserving. It's had some uses in its day, but I don't feel like it's ever been the belle of the ball by any means.
Yeah.
And with just the all-rounder pool that we have nowadays, there's just like so many options that sort of just feels super situational. I thought it was pretty funny. We were just talking with Overlord like right before this happened, and he brought up enjoying playing Aegislash. We were questioning him a lot on Blue Bear. I was like, which we'll get to later, I was like, oh my gosh,
he kind of spoke it into existence.
Predicted this patch. Yeah, I found that pretty funny. But I think that Wide Guard buff is so nice. That move is pretty annoying.
It's crazy. It's funny because I feel like Aegislash, well, it maybe didn't have a ton of success. It did have niche uses from time to time, right? Like, Wide Guard legitimately is one of the best answers to every EV in the game when you think about it. Like, Icicle Shard, you just Wide Guard him. Leafeon Unite move, you just Wide Guard at the right time. Like, there's so many different cases where Aegislash just becoming a defensive tank is so incredibly useful. But it never really landed in the right spot, at least not in competitive players' minds. But I see Relic in chat who used it a ton, and I truly am right there alongside. So I think it's a cool Pokemon. I think if we are going to see any Pokemon rise up the usage charts in terms of competitive tournaments, I think we're looking at it right now on the screen. I think Aegislash is the Pokemon that is going to see a little bit more play than it did previously. Where it did see niche play, I think it's going to be a solid 4th or 5th pick and draft at this point in time, in my opinion. Especially if you're going into like double defender or something like that. Aegislash just feels perfect in that spot. But we'll see. Like you mentioned, so many options in that class that it becomes really difficult. Also, where do you play it? Do you play it in Central? Do you play it in Top Path? It's a great invading Pokemon too, so another option that you can start thinking about. We'll see. Also, you want to hear my random theory for how they could buff Ironhead?
Ooh, always.
I think you should let them store a charge Like up to 2 charges of Iron Head.
Oh.
Like if you let the cooldown still keep going, and you could have 2 uses of Iron Head at any given moment. Tanked.
Yeah.
And then you could, obviously it would take longer time to fill up both of them in the gauge, but I think that would be very cool. Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes against it kind of goes against the Pokemon's like like design style, right? Because every time you use a boosted auto, you reduce the cooldown of your moves. So and you stack up your boosted autos and you use a bunch of them. So you're like boosted, move, boosted, move, right? But I don't know. Either way, I think it would be a nice change to Iron Head. It just needs something to get played a little bit more. Even though it has a nice your move doesn't work button, it's pretty hard to use that frequently. Okay, let's get into some of the more minor changes, at least in my opinion, minor. Sylveon getting a buff to Mystical Fire. The damage from the first hit of Mystical Fire, which is always the most, the later hits taking a little bit less. 70.8% special attack down to, or up to 74% of your special attack. So anytime we up the damage ratios, it's always a pretty big change. However, Sylveon, a Pokemon that doesn't traditionally scale insanely well, so not a huge change. But base stats to 425 to 446. Again, a big increase, but it is to the only of the first move. And then Calm Mind also getting a buff. Cooldown decrease from 10 seconds to 9.5 seconds. This is a Pokemon that are often being run with cooldown emblems and ranked, is getting the blue buff a lot of the time in coordinated play, and you can even run Shell Bell on this Pokemon. So I think them being cautious with the cooldown decrease makes sense to me in a change to a special attacker like this. But I know you've played a decent amount of Sylveon. Yeah, I know you're more of an Espeon head, but I'm sure there's been some Sylveon games in your repertoire. What are you thinking about this one?
Definitely went through a bit of a Sylveon era, but yeah, way more into Espy, especially Psyshock, Future Sight right now. I'm having tons of fun with, actually.
Okay.
But I haven't tried Sylveon in a while. It kind of fell out of favor a little bit, even though I just feel like the hyper voice change kind of turned, weirdly enough, a lot of people off of that moveset. So obviously Calm Mind typically paired with it. Maybe that'll help its cause a little bit, but Mystical Fire I feel like is what I see most people running with Sylveon nowadays. So I like that it's gotten a little bit of a bump, but like you said, I don't feel like these are anything too significant, but I don't think a bad changes at all.
Yeah. I'm wondering what Sylveon needs, because it's not a Pokemon that I would ever consider bad, but I do think they're correct in the patch notes. We're reading these off Unite DB, so we don't have the extra information given by the developers in these notes specifically, but I did remember reading it, and they're talking about how Sylveon's win rate is just extremely low right now. So this is just a change, a small tune-up to try to give Sylveon a little bit of something to help with the win rates overall. I don't know what it needs, It is a Pokemon that, for lack of a better word, in my opinion, is a little boring. It's a bit it's a walk around Pokemon. You're not trying to land any big specific hits. You're not trying to, get out of danger at just the right time. It's a really tanky, tough to knock out attacker that just sort of does damage by getting up close to you, which isn't exactly the most fun, but I am, aware enough that I know those kind of Pokemon or characters need to exist in games like this. You gotta give people who don't want to play the game with trying to focus on skill shots the whole time something to do, and Sylveon's a great option for that. So I'll take it. I'm not saying you're bad if you play Sylveon. I'm just saying I don't really find it a very fun Pokemon. That's all I'm going with. But okay.
That's all.
That's all. All right, let's go down to the next one. Gardevoir. Gardevoir getting a buff. This time around, the evolution has been changed from level 8 to level 7. So I think this is the first case of a Pokemon having this change done twice, I think, right? Because once upon a time, back in my day, Gardevoir used to evolve at level 9. But we have had a pretty big change here with Gardevoir now evolving at level 7 instead. And so this was something that we have questioned before. When these changes happen, where do the stats end up? But the stats at level 7 are increased to reflect this evolution. So all of your stats where they would normally sit at level 7 have now been changed, basically getting a big jump because of Gardevoir being the state you're at level 7. I mean, Gardevoir getting a pretty nice buff in this case, I think. I don't know how much it changes things, because Gardevoir's best part of its kit is likely its Unite move, one of the most powerful Unite moves in the game. So I'm not too sure where I stand in this one, actually, Bridget.
Yeah, also, Dextro pointing out, and I thought it was level 10 on release, but I wasn't sure, that Guardy actually used to evolve at level 10.
That's right. That's right. Of course, I was
So,
referring to my day of in level 9 because I was very good at Gardevoir at the level 9 stage. You know what I mean? So this is big for me.
okay, I'm glad. That
My
makes
day was
zero
not the level
sense.
10 days. Yeah.
Makes actually -5 cents, but it's fine. I will go with it. So, yeah, kind of insane just how much I feel like not I it's almost like they're bouncing around like what they've already kind of turned the meta into, which is like early game scalers seem to be running stuff
Mhm.
for the most part. So I find it interesting there. Gosh, level 7 just feels crazy. I know it's more in tune with like a Delphox kind of thing, and I do feel like your early game is so rough. I
Yeah.
do like the reward of the getting the stats maybe a little bit earlier, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one.
Does this make Lane Guardy any more viable, or is that still kind of a dream?
I don't like her.
Yeah, to me, I would agree. I don't think that makes any changes there. You're stronger at first midbirds now, usually, right? Like likely you can get to level
Yep.
7 by that first midbird fight, which could be relevant, but you got to play so safe as as Gardevoir still in that case. So we'll see. We'll see. I yet to be seen. I don't know. There's certain players that are pretty pumped about this change, so I think that is
Yeah.
gonna be huge. A lot of players not pumped about this change. This felt like one of those strangest ones, like off the cuff in this patch, which is Greedent Belch getting nerfed, both the plus and the standard version of the game. Basically, just getting reeled back in terms of their attack stat by quite a bit, mostly because of the ratio. So 207.2% of attack was what Belch was at previously. Now it has been reduced to 194.7% of the attack. The reason I'm reading out a number like that, and the base stat also got lowered as well, just to match up, but Greedent is a Pokemon that is likely going to be scaling so much due to its kind of, speedster, wonky-esque design. It works great for stacking. So a Pokemon that is always going to be scaling up its attack stat really high, which means that the percentage ratios of its moves just get better and better and better with every single stack. So kind of working hand in hand. So Greedent getting a reduction there does really hurt. Like Belch is much worse. Which is too bad. It felt like Greedent had one patch of being strong,
Right.
and we're gone. Yeah. I didn't add on Greedent. Or is that it's just me remorsing?
Yeah, I don't know who was running up the Belch win rate, but you just ruined it for everyone, so I hope you're happy.
Way to go, Gatlu. Okay, next one. All right, next thing, Psyduck. Psyduck getting a nerf. Yet another tone down to Psyduck. This one feeling pretty fair. Psyduck's been an interesting Pokemon because its ban rate in ranked in terms of stats is still extremely high. Its win rate in ranked is still extremely high. But in terms of competitive play, we're starting to see it fall out of that auto ban slot now. You know what I mean? Like, it is no longer one of those Pokemon that immediately needs to get out of your game, and oftentimes we're seeing it pass by altogether by top teams. So that is interesting. However, another change, I don't think, I'm not upset about it. Maybe you are. But Surf getting a damage nerf. I think the best part about Surf is not the damage of it, right? It's the manipulation that Psyduck can do with about a bajillion waves, especially when in headache mode. So that is the more frustrating part to play around, and I like that it's keeping that aspect. The damage numbers on Surf getting toned down a little bit, and the Unite move, the damage reduction you have while using that move, a little bit lower as well. So I don't know if that change will be relevant at all. It feels like hitting a Psyduck while their Unite moving before was just a fool's errand. Maybe it's the same way now. I don't know. But Surf getting this change, I think, is overall a good thing. But you are the Psyduck player, not I. So how you feeling?
They're fair. I don't believe either of these things were affected specifically last time. Like, I don't think Surf has gotten any damage reduction yet. I think it got other nerfs, but I could be wrong.
I can take a look wherever Psyduck is, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure they made its Unite move cooldown longer, but they didn't reduce the damage last time. So I could be wrong about that, but
Yeah, Psychic
I'm
got
pretty sure
buffed.
these are all things that haven't really been touched.
Yeah. Yes, agreed. Agreed.
So I think they're all still super valid. Honestly, I feel like I've been seeing a lot of people run some Bubble Beam Psychic. I was
Ooh.
playing Bubble Beam Psyduck with my friend who was playing Zacian with the Metal Claw. The orb thing got buffed on Zacian, which is you don't need as many
Yes.
orbs.
Mm-hmm.
And that paired with Bubble Beam, our lane felt unfair.
That's interesting.
People were exploding. Again, probably just ladder things, but
Mm-hmm.
it felt really good. So, and I actually kind of like Psychic. I think it has some interesting
Ah,
coordinated play with it.
it's
So,
become by far the competitive choice. Like every
yeah.
tournament game I've seen with Psyduck, it is always Psychic. Surfer Bubble
Yep.
Beam can kind of be interchangeable, it feels like, but whenever we're seeing top teams play, Psychic it seems ridiculously good. So very, very cool.
Yeah, I really like being able to control where they're like taunted too. It's very
Mm.
interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really enjoy that too. Okay, well, it's fair. Maybe not your favorite thing in the world, but it's fair. Let's go down to Alolan Ninetales getting some nerfs. Yeah, this Pokemon is good and frustrating to play against, but maybe a little surprising to see these nerfs. The boosted auto attack getting reduced damage, and Blizzard getting reduced damage, specifically when it slams into a wall, so that it, increased damage nerf. Sergeant Stinky in our chat saying a fake nerf for the Pokemon is still good. I tend to agree. I think Alolan Ninetales is still extremely strong. Its Unite move is incredibly good, and that passive buff that they gave it forever ago feels
Mm-hmm.
like one of the best things this Pokemon has going for it. The constant ability to have at least freeze gauges on the enemy just makes your Unite move 10 times better. I don't know. Alolan Ninetales still feels good despite these reductions, which maybe means, yeah, they were good reductions.
Real, yeah, because I felt like A9 was kind of like finally back a little bit
Mm-hmm.
after January Cup. I felt like it was getting a
Yeah.
lot more play than I had previously seen, so I was pretty excited for it, but agree that I don't think this is enough to take it
Mm.
out of contention. The passive. I mean, every 4 seconds, I think. It's so good.
Yeah. Incredibly good. Yeah, wow, what a Pokemon. But all right,
Beautiful.
yeah, A9. I think anybody who's upset about the changes, I wouldn't fret too much. It is still an incredibly strong Pokemon, so you'll be good to go. Player one, you're good. Don't worry. Umbreon, Wish getting a nerf. The cooldown is now increased from 5.5 seconds up to 6 seconds. Now, Foul Play had an interesting change. Not exactly a nerf, kind of a buff and a nerf in one, if you will.
Of course.
Basically, the second hit of Foul Play got an increase to its damage, utilizing more percentage of the attack stat of the hit Pokemon that you hit, because that's how Foul Play works in the video games, right? It does however much damage that the opposing Pokemon has in the attack stat. That's kind of a cute way to play with it in this game. I have never found it super relevant except for that one Dragapult meta where they like
Oh my
crazy buff
gosh.
Dragapult, and like a 10 stack Dragapult just evaporates when you hit them with Foul Play because their attack stat is so ridiculous that Umbreon just like smokes them. It's very fun. But anyway,
Oh my gosh.
the first hit of Foul Play has been decreased in the amount of damage, but the second hit has been increased. So basically, they mentioned this in the changes that they're trying to encourage rewarding players for better uses of Foul Play rather than just having it always be generically good. You want to be able to always be getting consistent 1-2 punches with Foul Play to be getting the value. And Umbreon, it's still one of the best defenders in the game. I actually say still, I think it's kind of become one of the best defenders in the game again, or at least gotten that notoriety. It felt like it fell off a little bit, like ever since Worlds or maybe during Worlds, and now it's been steadily climbing, and now it feels like near the top again. So seeing some changes, not upset. I don't think these changes are nearly enough to dissuade this Pokemon or make it a permaban. It just feels like a slight tweak to the Pokemon.
Definitely. Yeah, I like the rewarding players for using the move for a high priority target.
Mm.
I think it's really smart. So
Sure.
actually good Umbreon nerfs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, they probably could have done more to Wish, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
I
I don't even think that's too bad.
if they're going to nerf Wish, I think one thing I'd really like them to do is just reduce the damage reduction you have while it's channeling. I
Mm.
think that's like the really ridiculous part of Wish. I don't mind the amount of healing it does, honestly. I think that's kind of cool, actually. I think that's a fun part of its kit. I like that it encourages a unique playstyle because of Umbreon using their attack stats. So it encourages attack weight stacking on a supportive Pokemon. I don't know, it's kind of fun. But I would like to see Wish get reduced in the damage reduction. It just feels a little too strong in my opinion. But oh, okay, actually, Chad disagreed with me a little bit, wanting the opposite effect. So interesting. We're at odds now. Okay, let's go to Urshifu, the other thing that Overlord manifested on our interview last episode. Surging Strikes, getting a pretty big increase. Okay, I talked about how I thought that Aegislash was the big winner of this patch. I actually think these next two Pokemon we're going to talk about might be contending for that same title. And
Yeah.
surprise, surprise, they're all-rounders. Urshifu, Surging Strikes getting above damage per hit, 82% of attack stat, up to 90.2% of attack stat, the base also getting increased. So, all right, Surging Strikes are back, baby. Blue Bear getting a big buff. The Liquidation Defense Reduction Duration, wow, say that 20 times fast, has been increased from 2 seconds to 3 seconds, which may be relevant. Honestly, feels maybe more relevant if your teammates are also running up an attack stat style of composition. Maybe they can take advantage of it. But otherwise, for Urshifu, I feel like if you didn't get them all knocked out in 2 seconds, you're probably not going to get them all knocked out. And then the Unite move, apparently Ebon Fist had a bug where it would interrupt the Unite moves to some Pokemon. That has been changed. Can you did they change it? Can you not Ebon Fist like a Slowbro anymore or something? Do we know? It's like that used to be the interaction, and I'm wondering if they considered that a bug and had a fix. Chat, let us know where Ebon Fist is at.
I feel like probably, but I honestly feel like I haven't seen much Urshifu in my games, like honestly, since this, which I'm pretty surprised about. But
yeah, that is interesting.
I don't know.
Okay, man, just reading these notes makes me want to pick up Urshifu again.
Oh my gosh.
I've told this story on the podcast a few times, but there is an infamous story of where Doomsday Spreckles and I were playing Unite in a hotel lobby for one of the first times we ever like hung out and like played Unite together. And I was pretty confident in my Urshifu, and I think at some point Spreckles just said, "Hey Zoix, your Urshifu's not it tonight." And I put it away. So, retired it forever. Maybe it's finally time to bring it into retirement. We'll see.
Yeah, bring up the Spraggles duo queue. Show him, prove to him.
Hey, Urshifu looks great right now. I think it's a really, really solid pick. So definitely pick it up in your games. If you're at all comfortable with that Pokemon, it's also really fun. It kind of balances that fun all-rounder mini game that you always play with, like, how long can I stay in that damage zone without getting KO'd? You know what I mean? Like, how far can I push my limits? Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Urshifu takes it a step further even, right? But it's how long can I, like, push my limits in these fights? But then you also get that like reset mechanic gameplay where with a Pokemon like Greninja or something, or Mimikyu, you only get that experience when you're getting KOs, but a Pokemon like Urshifu or Lucario kind of get it immediately, which is just really fun. Like if I'm telling players like, hey, if you're a really big fan of like characters with this style, Urshifu and Lucario are so great, like for pickups. A very, very fun Pokemon to play. But yeah, let's jump to the next Pokemon. You were saying that you think this might be one of the biggest changes. Zacian only getting one change, but it's a bit of a doozy, and I think it's just a rework. Intrepid Sword, the passive of Zacian when they're able to empower their moves with Eos Energy, the very first EX. Oh, the OG. Where it used to cost 8, 12, and 15 for the different thresholds to empower their moves with Eos Energy. That change has been reduced to 5, 8, and 10. Yeah, you're going to be able to use these early and often now. And obviously, you don't have to pay too much. You can still score a little more frequently.
Yeah, I think just putting the counter, especially initially, down at that 5 marker, I mean, early game, I'm like trying to do like the math. I'm like, how much money do you get if you do a jungle clear and you walk up to the path? Can you boost your attack twice or thrice? I'm not sure, but you're probably getting birds. You're probably getting at least 3 off on the first gank, if not more. So
yeah, if you full clear, you definitely get the 10 Eos energy.
Yeah. So I feel like it definitely puts a lot more. I mean, it's like early game and late game pressure. It's also just kind of like, obviously, like the 8 is a little bit of like an awkward counter, but like 5 and 10, it's just like easier, I think, to
Sure.
pilot. If it's divisible by 5, it's just easier to math.
Okay.
You can say I'm not right about this. So I just feel like you can like gauge faster. No? Do you know your 5 timetables as good as your 8s? I don't know.
I guess I don't. I guess I've never thought about it that way.
You probably don't.
Oh, well, math brilliance here on the podcast. I never expected to see.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
That's huge.
I know, there's no juice sacks here, but...
I know, it's huge. Okay, great. Well, there you go. Divisible by 5, Pog. 5 and 10. We love that. Okay, let's go down to the next Pokemon. This is going to be a tough one to define in terms of a buff or a nerf. I think it's a buff, but here we go. Wigglytuff, Double Slap, and Dazzling Gleam both getting a slap on the wrist.
Oh my god.
I'll see myself out. Both of the damage numbers getting slightly reduced. And I literally mean like in the slightest way possible. They are getting reduced in terms of damage. However, Starlit Recital, the Unite move of Wigglytuff, getting a pretty huge buff. The shield duration going from 2.5 seconds up to 3.5 seconds. So a huge buff to Wigglytuff's effect, which of course gives a team-wide shield, but not to mention it also cleanses your team from hindrances and makes you unstoppable for a moment. So a literally wildly powerful Unite move in a lot of cases, pointing at Gardevoir Unite move. And having that increase in terms of duration is so sick. So Wigglytuff getting a really big change there.
Yeah, absolutely loved this. I mean, Dazzling Gleam and Double Slap, I know that the patch notes we're showing on video are the more detailed numbers, but I have the patch notes from Timmy up as well, and they just describe them each getting a 5% decrease. Like,
okay.
It's fine. I don't know. I don't see why I don't really know why. Like, did we have to do that? I guess. Dazzling Gleam kind of hurts, sure. But I love this buff on Wiggly's Unite move. Bigger shield for longer. It already has a really short cooldown.
Yeah.
I love Wiggly ult, so I think this has a pretty big buff to Wiggly. I do not think the damage on the your move of Slapper Gleam is going to be noticeable.
I agree.
So
I agree. Well, let's move on to another support and the final Pokemon adjusted in this patch. That's Blissey, Helping Hand getting a nerf. So, the movement speed increase has been decreased, as well as the attack speed increase has been decreased. So, Helping Hand getting another bit of a slap on the wrist here, with a slight decrease in both of the effects that Pokemon has, but another Unite move buff for another support to probably the best support Unite in the entire game, if not having an argument for just best Unite move in the entire game, is now a ridiculously less amount required to use that Unite. Cooldown has been decreased from 134 seconds to 100 seconds. That is banana lance, as Deuce Next would say if he was here. Yeah. If you're playing support in ranked, pick up Blissey. Honestly, I know Wiggly looks fun. Wiggly's going to be a great time. Play Blissey. This thing's crazy.
Yeah. Dude, there's got to be a skin coming, right?
There has to be.
Why did we do this to, like, I feel like one of the more banned mons in the game, high priority pick. I do feel like there are a lot, like, obviously people were high on Psyduck. I actually thought Blissey was a pretty good counter to Psyduck as well.
Yeah.
But Hoopa's always great in comp. LD obviously got its level plus move buffs a little bit ago. But man, how do you just... Blissey ult is so good. They've nerfed it. I don't know if it's ever been buffed. I feel like it's only been nerfed for centuries. Yeah. And now they're buffing it when it's already fine? We have to get a skin. Please, get
I
us a
mean,
skin.
yeah, maybe they're gonna finally break that, like, in case of emergency, break glass and pull out the Nurse Joy Blissey skin. For all the Twitter people who've been begging for that skin for seemingly years, they will finally have it. I don't know, but you were right. I think at this point in time, it seems like it's gonna be there. So, there's our breakdown on Unison Strike. Before we actually close up our discussion on the Bridget, though, let's fully pull the trigger. Who do you think's the biggest winner of the patch?
Forgot to make Union Strike jokes during that segment. Not that I had any planned, but I'm disappointed.
I said the word scab in the podcast. Does that help, I think?
Yeah, I think that was good. Okay. That's about the extent of my knowledge, other than, like, Mr. Krabs is in there.
Yeah. Blissey's Union busting up the backline with their Unite move.
Okay, well...
See, this is why we didn't do this. Okay, who's the biggest winner of the patch?
Honestly... It feels a little bonkers to say Zacian, but
wow, okay.
I just feel like the money man. He already was in a I felt like fine place. Obviously, I think Metal Claw was nerfed recently, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it probably doesn't have the most like wide swing in terms of where it was pre-patch until now. I just think that's really good.
Okay. Big Zasha believer. My heart choice is Aegislash, I believe, in terms of Pokemon that I would like to see be the biggest winner in the way that I would love to see its play rate skyrocket. However, I do think the biggest winner is Blissey. I think that cooldown reduction is crazy. The amount of times that I've had to, like, explain on, like, commentary on the mic, like, to... that, like, hey, Blissey, at this moment of the game, they're just running it down. They're honestly trying to die in the situation, so they'll get their Unite move back, right? Like, the amount of times you kind of have to have that conversation on the mic. Like, I feel like that's gone now. Like, they'll just have it, no matter what. We're going to see, like, 5 Blissey ults a game. Like, this is, like, Greninja energy amp levels of Blissey ults. It's going to be truly nuts. Yeah, I think it's egg time, baby. Let's go. So Blissey getting some big buffs there. Eggs up. Eggs up. Okay. New emote incoming. Okay. Eggs up. Sunny side. We're gone. Okay. So anyway, that's gonna I think gonna be my biggest winner. Do we think there was any big misses? Do we think there was a Pokemon that should have been in this patch to either receive a buff or a nerf that absolutely did not? You can only pick one.
You know who I hate lately?
Who's
Glacian Icicle Spears, man. Okay. I hate that guy.
That's why they buffed Aegislash. Let's go.
Yeah, nerf that. Nerf that. Why do we buff that? Nerf that.
Yeah,
I hate him.
Put it away. That Pokemon is... I do think it's my most hated Pokemon in the entire game.
I hate it. I think it might be mine too, honestly. Yep. I hate it.
I've held strong to this opinion. I can't stand Glaceon.
Oh, it just grinds my gears.
Yeah, it's nasty.
What about you?
A Pokemon that, well, I might go in the opposite route then. If you were going with a Pokemon that you think is bad or is too strong that should have gotten a nerf, I'll go with a Pokemon that I think has been... a buff. Yeah, sure. That's fair. I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to go with a Pokemon that is too weak that I think deserves a buff. I think they gave Charizard a hot second. I think Charizard needs more time. I need some more Charizard buffs.
Does he?
I think so. Honestly, what I would love to see is like straight up like a Charizard rework. I think Charizard's Unite move and its auto attack are extremely fun and like make sense for the Pokemon. I actually think its moves are kind of radically boring. I think they could do some really fun changes to that Pokemon if they just got another try at it, you know? Give another sweep over to him and, you know, adjust some things there. And, hey, if they ever want to do the change that I've been begging for a long time and you allow Chandelure's Flamethrower to aim like Espeon's Psyshock where you could, like, change where the explosion happens, oh my gosh, I'm a one-trick. So I'm a one-trick if that happens. So that...
He doesn't say that lightly either. He only has green badges.
Exactly. I'm only a green badger, but if I get Flamethrower where I can aim the explosion, I am a one-trick. And then it's over then. All right. Well, I think that'll close up on this patch. If you're watching this on YouTube, please in the comment section, let us know what your favorite change of the patch was and maybe what your least favorite or most missing change of the patch was. That'd be awesome. But As we jump into our next discussion topic, actually, let's mention this real quick. We have a brand new Pokemon coming to the game just in 2 days, Bridget. Galarian Rapidash will be added to the game, and a unique change, I guess kind of a unique change. It was data mined early on that it was supposed to be an all-rounder, and in fact, the Pokemon's class has changed. Galarian Rapidash now being classified as a speedster, being added to the game, which I think is a pretty big W for a few reasons. One, if you've seen any gameplay footage of this Pokemon, yeah, that just makes so much sense with the style that this Pokemon is played in, with its passive and everything all leaning towards move speed. It really does fit that class so well. And let's face it, we have so many all-rounders. Adding another one to the speedster category is really, really exciting. So personally, I love the change. I think we've already talked about the Pokemon and kind of our excitement levels for it, but how are you feeling all around on Galarian Rapidash incoming just a couple days here?
Definitely not a mon I will probably personally pick up, but I do have some friends who are excited about it. I am super happy it's officially a speedster now.
Yeah.
I wish we had to look behind the curtain and knew what happened there. Like, I feel like when it was initially data mined, we all thought it was a speedster. I'm not sure like what data miners like based that initially on, or if then they changed it to an all-rounder, they changed it back to a speedster. I don't know. I obviously don't know the initial story of what happened there, but just kind of interesting. I feel like the problem, because it was added to the playtest server as an all-rounder, I believe.
Yeah. It had the little purple background, right? Like that's about as informative as we can be on something like this.
The science is there. Yes. It makes sense. So that was clearly their intention. In my little headcanon, they're like listening to the community and they knew that we all wanted another speedster, so they were like, we love you guys, you're the best, we'll do anything for you, we'll make it into a speedster.
Yeah, that's
just for
true.
you. So I am seeing this as a W. We need more speedsters. It literally functions as a speedster. Yeah. I think that's hype. So I'm excited.
Me too. I think I will be playing the Pokemon because I really do think it's exciting. It's a cool style of speedster. It feels like Dodrio light, maybe? Like, it feels like a play style of Dodrio without having to all in a lot of the moments, which I think is really, really fun sounding. I think Galarian Rapidash is an absolutely adorable Pokemon, so that's really cool for me too. And I don't know, I've said this a couple times on the podcast, I think I am such a shill for those Holloware effect sprays. I don't know, there's very few things in Unite where I'm like, credit card, go, go, go. Like, a couple of Holloware here and there. The sprays, I'm like, yeah, what am I doing playing this with Holloware, not a spray? Like, I am such a sucker in those ways. So, I think a Pokemon that is just built for Sparkle Spray or Heart Spray is like, yes, please. More. So, big fan there. But okay. We'll definitely talk more about Galarian Rapidash on next podcast episode because it'll be out. We'll have had the chance to try it and play against it and all that kind of thing. We'll have a little bit more intel to work with. So, very excited to get my hands on that Pokemon. But jumping into our final topic of conversation, Bridget, is another bit of the Chinese version of Pokemon Unite, which has been out for quite some time now, basically ever since like winter of last year. Now we're in winter of this year. But they have just launched a brand new game mode. It's in beta, at least that's how the game classifies it at the moment. But there is a auto battler being added to the game. I'm going to do just a little bit of prep work here because I know there'll be a lot of listeners who Pokemon Unite is your first MOBA, and maybe something like an auto battler is a genre of game you've never even heard about. So, for a little bit of history lesson, an auto battler has shown up in a few different games in genre, but it was made popular by far. The first place was a game called Auto Chess, which was made in Dota. It's a mod where you could basically get champions from Dota, put them onto a board, and they would battle against opponents in a round-based system. You had a little you have a shop every turn where you can buy units. If you get more than one of a unit, you can combine them to make a stronger version of that unit, usually 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star. and then you put them onto the board. They fill different roles like tanks, attackers, that kind of thing, but it's all done on basically a little grid-shaped board, but the Pokemon move around on it and interact. I say Pokemon, but in any case, it depends what game you're playing of Auto Battler. So Dota, Auto Chess, League of Legends came out with a game that I think rose to become the most popular Auto Battler, which is Teamfight Tactics. If you're a fan of League of Legends or anything like that, you'd have a hard time not knowing what this game is because of how popular it is. It is so many players only pick up the League of Legends client simply to play Teamfight Tactics. And now Pokemon Unite is joining that Auto Battler arms race, I guess.
Echelon.
Yes, Echelon, Pantheon, whatever we want to call it. There is going to be an Auto Battler. Now, this is exciting for a few reasons. One, I've seen some footage of the gameplay, and it genuinely looked really fun. Like, it looks really cool and exciting. Two, this has been a request of not just like the Unite community, but like the Pokemon community as a whole for as long as I can remember. Like, so many people forever have been asking, when will Pokemon release an auto battler? If Pokemon had an auto battler, I'd play it so much, blah, 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 blah. I've seen 1,000 tweets like that. And it actually exists. Not a rumor, not like a maybe like some data mine piece or something now. It is a playable mode in a game, region locked to China in their specific version.
Caveat.
Yeah, there's asterisks in that sentence for sure. I just didn't put them in. So, wow, what a cool, exciting thing that we don't get at the moment. So, woof, I don't know. There's a lot to talk about here. Bridget, first impressions. I know you've never played Auto Battlers and you haven't really been familiar with them, but the idea of a like auto chess unit purchasing strategy game inside of a Unite game, inside of a Pokemon game, does that excite you? Does it not? What are your vibes towards that?
Definitely am excited about it. Obviously, like you said, I am like familiar with the genre, but it's never been something I've played. But similar to a lot of other people who play Unite, this is like, oh, like our first MOBA, like baby's first MOBA. Okay, baby's first auto battler. Like, I actually do feel like the type of people who are like willing to try and get into Unite and probably still care about it at this point as well too, are pretty directly in the market for this. And I mean, honestly, you kind of got to give it to Timmy. As much as I don't like to say that, this is kind of crazy. Like,
yeah,
what other game is doing it like that? What other Pokemon title is doing it like this? Like,
honestly,
like you said, like this has been something people have like dreamed about, and it's really cool. Like, I know there's a lot of kind of like RNG elements to it. It seems like there's like a ton of items, like much more than we have in like our current Unite mode, but it's cool that it's seeing like all of like the Unite models, if it'll like, I'm assuming would like live inside the game, or I don't know, obviously I'm not sure how it would work, but I'm pretty impressed by it, I can't lie.
The biggest question is just like, well, when do I get it? I guess is my biggest question, of course. But it is, how will it look if it ever does come to the global version of the game? Are we getting any piece of the Chinese game? I put up on screen for a moment. Maybe I'll put it up again. If you're watching live on Twitch or you're watching this on YouTube, check it out. But Phil Yumis is actually currently streaming this version of the game. So definitely, after you're finished watching this podcast live, go check out Phil Yumis' YouTube stream. The man does not read Chinese, but is attempting to play this game. He is on a trip to China, of course, playing it totally fair and legal there. But anyways, a very, very exciting idea. A little bit more of a recap on how auto battlers work. You are in a lobby of 8 players, and you'll play against 1 player in each of the rounds. And you have kind of a little toolbar along the bottom of the screen with however many Pokemon that you can hold, and so on and so forth. You see on the right-hand side, there's a lot of different synergies that your Pokemon can have. And for once, type matters in a Pokemon game. It's so crazy. It does not matter in terms of weaknesses, we have found out. Like, essentially, a dark Pokemon attacking a psychic Pokemon will not do increased damage, but every single type that is in the game do have synergy bonuses. So if you have 3 grass Pokemon on your board, for example, you will do additional damage, but there's also like class bonuses. It feels like they sorted the Pokemon into kind of brawlers or like attackers or tanks, but it's not the like they're not all in the classic Unite categorization. For example, like you can see on the screen right now, if you're watching live, that Phil's Rowlet is considered like a brawler. So clearly this Rowlet is going to do some kind of melee damage or something like that. But as they evolve, they will be changing. This game actually does a few unique things. If you were an Auto Battler fan, I don't want to be on Phil's stream for too long. I don't want to be stealing his content. Go tune into his stream. But this game does some cool, unique things actually that kind of plays with the Pokemon Unite systems. For one, all the items that you can get in the game are Pokemon Unite items. The China mode has a few more than us, so there's a little bit wider of array. But the idea of Pokemon Unite kind of having those specific move choices you make in a game is reflected in this Auto Battler. So you get basically one move when you launch in, but I believe you get to change it once. So you can kind of try the one move, see how it works with your synergy. And if you don't like it, you're like, I need a little more crowd control, or I need like a little bit more movement or something, you can swap it up. You can only access the ultimate or unite move of a few of your Pokemon by getting like, it looks like a TM. It's a disc item, and usually in Pokemon world that means TM, and you can give it to a Pokemon. If they're holding that item, they can use their unite move, but you only get a few throughout the game, it looks like, so only a few of the Pokemon on your board can get that. And either way, it seems really exciting. The biggest complaint I have seen about the game, or at least early impressions from people who've seen footage of it or just pictures, is the UI. A lot of people are not in love with it, specifically because of kind of the, I don't know how to describe it, the off angle that you're looking at the board at. It's not like straight 90 degree. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually kind of like it.
Of course you do.
No, and I do. So here's the thing: TFT, you're looking at a full 90-degree board, right? It's straight up and down, and when your enemies go attack, you look at behind them, and you look towards your enemy. It's a very straightforward design pattern that you're gonna be playing out. In this one, you're just gonna get to see a little more of like the action shots of your Pokemon, right? Because not only is the camera tilted a little bit on an angle, but it's also like, I'm making a metaphorical camera in the camera right now, but like it's tilted, it's down farther, so you get like a little bit more of an action oriented angle rather than a top down view. So yeah, maybe it's a little less strategy oriented, but it's a little more like action, interesting visual oriented, which I think is kind of cool. Maybe diehard Auto Battler fans are going to be really turned off by that. That'd be a huge bummer if that's the case. And this game's still in beta, so maybe if they get a ton of feedback that's not good, then they'll change it. So that'd be totally fine. But personally, I think it's okay. And the one last thing I thought, it was just kind of cool. We talked about it on the UI. I think I'll bring back up the stream just for one more moment here. Once this round starts, you'll see is that your trainer, in whatever you've dressed up your trainer in game with, like whether you've like equipped, whatever outfit you have. Currently, Phil only has the normal outfit on, but they're standing there. And anytime you're like in the menus or controlling your Pokemon, they like pull up a little menu board and they're like pressing buttons and stuff. I don't know. It's this cool like immersive feel that your trainer is actually like commanding this little mini army of Pokemon, and it is so fun. And anyway, all that to say, if you weren't convinced by me, I'm extremely excited about this game mode. It looks so fun, and I'm really excited to get my hands on it, but it genuinely looks like a really cool take on an Auto Battler. And that's the one thing is like, I don't know, to me, it feels really robust for something that I would expect from Pokemon to make. It looks serviceable. Like, it has all the kind of main mechanics you would want from an Auto Battle. It's got a big tray of Pokemon. They each have stars. They have level ups. There's synergy bonuses. There's econ versus reroll purchasing mechanic, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk more about it when we can actually translate the Chinese characters. But anyway, it kind of has most of the boxes checked that you'd want. And in my opinion, that's a lot more than I expected. So I don't know. This is my big rant about just cool mode is cool, but at the end of the day, this is one of those things that is like I need China mode now. And I've been a huge defender of like a lot of the different modes in the Chinese. I really like their like non 10-minute time mode capped game. I like the 500 point mode a lot. So this is me pushing even harder in a new direction. Please make the Chinese version of the game go global. It would go crazy. Like Pokemon Auto Battler, like the connotations are crazy. Like I can think of
that alone.
like the content creators that would pick up that game. I'm just like mind-boggling to think about that alone. Like we'd have like Ludwig-esque characters picking up this game. You know what I mean? Like we would have Wolfie at least. Like we're getting big names, big numbers. Yeah, I don't know. This mode launching globally alongside the Chinese mode, which is like if they launched it like Pokemon Unite 2 and it has an auto battler, like holy crap. Like
yeah, Switch 2, Pokemon Unite 2. Come on.
Oh.
I'm really, really hoping when they showed us the 500 point mode at Worlds and they were like, it's going to be available global in the spring. Like, that means, like, just give us everything.
No,
give us everything.
Oh,
like, please, I'm, like, hoping so hard that means.
Right.
We'll get a global launch in the spring, but that is 100% hypothesis. So.
Totally agree.
I don't know. Okay. I am getting antsy for it, though, for sure.
Oh, me too. Okay, final question, Bridget, by the way. We've been calling it Pokemon Unite 2 because it literally looks and feels like it, right? Like when we're watching it.
Yes.
Let's say that it released that way. It wasn't just a big update to Pokemon Unite because let's say the framework of that game, Nintendo Switch, I mean, woof.
Funny.
Let's say that if China ever does go global, it's in the form of a brand new game, accounts transfer, whatever. We're looking at Utopia World here. What do we call it?
Oh my gosh.
What do we brand it? Is it Pokemon Unite 2? I've heard rumblings like from people in the community like Pokemon Unite EX is like just cheeky enough, you know? Like we remember the horrible days of the EX Pokemon. Maybe Pokemon Unite EX is kind of clever.
Masters EX.
Yes, there you go. But Masters EX launched as Masters EX, right?
Yeah, then they
They could do Masters EX and like do a whole new thing. That'd be crazy.
Hey, I mean, they do have the.
Oh, EX was like a rework of the game. Oh, that's interesting. I know Pokken did like a different one, but
yeah, they're like remake. Well, that's
Pokemon Unite Remix goes kind of hard. Ooh, DX was Pokken.
I forget the name of that freaking Cafe Remix.
Oh.
They already did that with it was Cafe Mix, and then they changed it to Cafe Remix. So they like to do this.
Yeah. Pokemon Reunite is very funny.
Yeah, I actually would. That would be like so Nintendo of them to do.
Yeah.
To play on that.
That is true.
Reunited is so stupid. But I don't know.
Scatter.
They
go the opposite direction. Okay, I don't mind that.
Yeah, disperse. Or like Maximum Unite. Or like
Maximum
Unite Unlocked or something crazy.
Interesting. I like that a lot. Ooh. This is good. I like it. These are some fun names. If you have a better name, please let us know on whatever comment section provides. Wherever you're watching this episode, I think Spotify technically has a comment section. I think no one's ever used it on Earth. But if you want to be the first one...
Let's light up the Spotify comments.
Exactly. If you want to be the first user to ever use that feature, let us know what you would call Pokemon Unite 2 if China Global version ever does become a brand new thing you can download. Bridget, anything to plug before we close up the episode?
I don't think so.
Cool.
ACL matches this weekend.
ACL
will be fun to watch.
Yes, I believe.
Channels.
Yeah, ACL will be closing out this weekend in terms of their regular season. I believe Japan has one more day and India has one more day, whereas SEA is all closed up and ready to begin their playoffs. So, very exciting times over there in the Asia Champions League. Keep an eye out on the squads we're competing and see who's going to join Luminosity Gaming, I guess. At one point in the ACL Grand in-person finals in Japan. That'd be crazy. Otherwise, I think I've been plugging it all episode long, but seriously, the YouTube channel for Unite Mics is alive again. We zap some life into it. It would mean a lot if you showed a little bit of love over to the channel, at least a subscription, but if you want to go check out a video, leave a like, leave a comment. That'd be so awesome. We're trying to put these episodes out as frequently as we can and much quicker. Hopefully this episode will be up literally tonight. So, thank you everybody for tuning in. We will talk to you all next time when the Asia Champions League regular season has completed and we have Galarian Rapidash in-game, and who knows, maybe the global version will be launched. Probably not. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.